This video is going to be one of my attempts to show an element of Patrick Queen's game that is tremendously underrated as it stands now going into the 2023 season with all the discussion from fans, front office media about his fifth-year option not being picked up. Do the Ravens still want him? I think they do. Do the fans still want him? I think most of us do. Is it worth it? I think it is. Depending on what the salary cap does, that's not really the point of the video necessarily. Should we re-sign him? It's that the one of the most underrated elements of his game is how committed he is to doing his job in a physical way when he's asked to do so. I'm not necessarily just talking about blitzes, to be honest with you. I'm talking about taking on blocks, setting things back inside so that his teammates can make the play. One of the most beautiful plays from the entire season, if you ask me, for the Ravens is going to be a sack by Justin Houston against the Saints. I'll show you the end zone angle and how Patrick Queen made it all happen. And I think he's a guy who gets better every year during the season, and I think that's a unique skill. I've said that a couple of times on Twitter. I want to show how physical he is taking on blocks in some of these situations. Some of these plays I'm going to show multiple times, so you'll have to let me know if you don't like that. I know some people don't like when I talk too much and don't let the plays run. So let's look at one of the plays from the playoff game. Ravens dropping Tyus Bowser into coverage along with Roquan Smith, which is a nice look for them. And they're blitzing Queen with JPP going on an edge rush. Seagat, Bowser dropping back. I think Roquan Smith kind of taking over Patrick Queen's pass drop, kind of like a classic Steelers blitz. And the inside linebacker, in this case Queen, taking on the running back and just basically running him over. Putting him on the train tracks, running him over, putting him in Joe Burrow's lap. Queen doesn't get credit for the sack, but if you ask me, he makes the play with how forceful he is. Just running Joe Mixon back into Joe Burrow's lap, disrupting the whole damn thing. Let it run one more time. You guys let me know if you appreciate it. I love seeing plays like this when a person, a man, a player, an athlete makes a play, understanding like I may not get credit for this play, but whoever shows up here, I'm going to show up with a bad attitude, and I'm going to arrive and put them on their back. I love it. We used to call it just knock it back. Basically, whoever shows up, knock him backwards. And Patrick Queen's just committed, man. He's committed to doing his job for this team, and I don't see how you can't appreciate it and say that this guy would help us a whole hell of a lot in 2023. The salary is quite low. Another one against the Patriots, I think somewhat similar. Except this time he's taking on a lineman. Matabike and Bynes ended up making a play. I'll let this one run a couple of times. Just a unique play by Bynes. He appears to read pass initially and is going to go backwards. But watch Queen take on the lineman and just basically stuff it right here. I mean, just stuff it right here. I love the angle of the back that's coiled. His hips underneath of him. Feet, toes in the ground, driving, making sure that there's no vertical movement by that lineman. It stops here, right now, and the back's got to redirect. And I think Jones and Matabike doing a nice job, compressing their gap, particularly Matabike. Jones is trying to two-gap it, basically. Running back cuts it back a couple of times, and Bynes makes the play. Matabike gets in there. Another example, if you ask me, of Patrick Queen making the play in terms of redirecting the football, not letting the ball go on its track, on its intended track. Bounce back away from, look at the compression, look at the condensed gap. You have triangulated players here, and Patrick Queen's a part of it, taking it on damn near at the line of scrimmage. I'm not sure what Bynes was doing. Bynes apparently read pass, backpedaled, and then realized that it was like a draw, came downhill, gets credit for the tackle. But for me, Queen makes the play along with Matabike and Travis Jones trying to two-gap it. I'm not showing the end zone angle of some of these because I just want you to see like where the line of scrimmage is and where Queen takes on the block. Now, it's a little bit past the line of scrimmage here, but it's a lineman free releasing basically straight up to him. In this case, the left guard. Actually, it's the center, my bad. Taking on blocks isn't just a matter of how you do it. It's a matter of where you do it. You don't want to do it 4 yards down the field past the line of scrimmage. You want to do it as close to the line of scrimmage as possible. We used to say if we're taking on blocks at the line of scrimmage, that's 10-0 football. I mean, that's kind of unrealistic, to be honest with you, when you have linemen releasing up to you. But point being, it was a mentality. I love this one. It's a toss play away from him. Giants had the opportunity to get some yards here. You got this compressed crack down, pulling 2 linemen outside, trying to get Saquon Barkley outside. Watch Queen take on this pulling lineman. I think it's the center, 76. Could be wrong. Maybe that's not the center. I just love the aggression and commitment. That's why that's the title of this video. I guess it is the center. The commitment to just say, you know what, I'm not going to make the tackle, but I can't run around this. I can't pick a side here and then give Barkley a cutback lane. Similarly, I can't just dive inside because now I've got binds outside on the outside leverage of this block. And if Queen was to dive inside of 76, basically to go to 76 left shoulder, wrong arm it, essentially, which it's not really a wrong arm technique if you're running from the second level and you're the backside inside linebacker. You would create a big-ass seam here for Saquon Barkley up the middle. Queen don't do that. He's committed. He's square. He's hat on hat, shoulder on shoulder, hands inside 76 chest plate. I know he ends up on his back, but I think it's a beautiful football play. And I think he did. There's dozens of these from last season. I'll be honest with you. I'm in the middle of trying to create another video on the coverages the Ravens see, and some of them, to be honest with you, I've got to watch 6 or 8 times to understand the coverage. The split field coverage calls can be so daunting for someone like me and most of us fans to try to understand what the defense might be reading, and I don't want to speculate that much. And so I see plays like this occasionally, and then I see 4 of them, and then I see 6 of them. I'm like, damn, this deserves a video. So just showing some respect for what Patrick Queen was able to do, especially for somebody who in his first year was talked about like he's a keep him unblocked, run free linebacker. He's not a shock and shed linebacker. You get the end zone, all 22 angle for one reason and one reason only. There's the line of scrimmage. Here's Queen. Heels at almost 5, toes at 4.5, something like that, 4.5. Watch where he takes on the block by the center. I mean, he's at the line of scrimmage. This is his helmet, and that's the center's helmet. Taking on the block. That's amazing. Considering this, where he lined up, and then where the intended direction of the play to the field side, away from him. He gets there. Beautiful football play, man. Just unselfish guy. Have to call it unselfish. Seeing this in a progression. Of course, I get to pick the plays. Some people say you cherry pick them, whatever. I'm trying to find similar concepts that illustrate a point. And in this case, I think Patrick Queen is just a Raven. He's committed to doing what the Ravens need him to do on a play-by-play basis. Are there times where he doesn't execute certain things? Sure. But he was way better at taking on blocks in 2023 than anyone ever could have foresaw after his rookie season. And look at after the play. It's not just taking on the block here. And this is a pulling lineman. Guys, he's taking him on in the backfield. Just, so maybe you don't know. This is Queen's helmet setting this back inside. Meaning, I'm not showing you the end zone angle. Queen is taking on the top side of this block, the outside of the pulling guard. Basically, he's forcing the ball to either, cut back inside of 76's block or, which, it actually does in this case, bounce outside. And then watch how he celebrates. Like, Marcus Peters is the guy who gets the TFL. Patrick Queen is just as happy for Marcus Peters as he would be if he made the play. That matters. I think that counts. And I think that shows up in his play. He doesn't care who makes the play, who gets credit for it. He's just glad it's a Raven. That's just what I perceive. And I might be wrong there. That's the way I look at the game from an inside linebacker position. Sometimes we make the play even if we don't get credit for it. And I'm showing you as many examples of this as possible and letting it feed back and loop over my commentary so you can see it multiple times, and maybe you notice things I don't. But I think it's beautiful football when you're talking about a second-level guy. I guess he was in the 3rd year of his contract here, being unselfish and committed to his team. Another example of taking on a block. Now, I have shown some of these plays, all of them, I think, except 2 in previous videos, but this was something that, it was an element that maybe I didn't cover enough. Look at him taking on the tight end here in a play that I would call F counter. And it still ends up being a 4-yard gain. JPP's getting kicked out by the pulling lineman. The tight end wrap. Queen is taking him on at the line of scrimmage, and that's important. It gives you and your other players an opportunity to make the play and hold it to a 2 or 3 yard gain. In this case, it actually ends up being a 4-yard gain. Line of scrimmage is a 25. Queen's toes at 4, 4.5, 4 1/4, something like that. Look where he takes on his block. This is important, if you ask me, at least the way I was taught the game. I mean, his helmet's in the backfield. Right toes at the line of scrimmage, left toe half a yard back. No, not being expanded at all. Not widening the gap inside of him between, himself and the next guy down getting blocked. Yeah, there's other guys getting blocked, and we do have Chuck Clark defeating the block, another free safety getting involved in a tackle. Still a 4-yard gain, something like that, maybe even 4.5. I still think it's football the way it's meant to be played, and Patrick Queen turned a lot of plays in like this that maybe didn't get talked about enough, even by people like myself. Let me know if you're as big a fan of these type of plays as I am. Every play's not going to be an interception, a forced fumble, a strip sack, etc. Sometimes there's just good old, I'm going to knock this block back because that's what my coaches and my teammates need me to do. Redirecting on a blitz. I'm only going to show one of these. I'm going to show the aforementioned play against the Saints. His recognition here is unique, if you ask me. You've got motion by, I think it's Chenault, who's an interesting player for the Panthers. And Queen appears to be getting set to blitz and then redirects. He sees it. Like, he sees the ball handed off and the intended path of the running back being outside of the gap that he was going to blitz in. Again, I'm not showing you the end zone angle, but hopefully you can see it. I mean, the ball hasn't even been given yet. So the only thing that he can see is these pulling linemen, probably 70, certainly not 79, because the ball, as you can see, is still in the quarterback's hand. The recognition while on the move, I think is pretty damn cool. Only going to show this play one more time, and then I'll show the play from the Saints that frees up Justin Houston for a sack. Unselfish, committed, playing downhill, and taking on blocks with tenacity and an understanding of what the team needs. Here's Queen. Here's Justin Houston. This is a sack by Houston. Queen don't get any credit statistically for it, but he makes the play. Picks the lineman perfectly. Houston has to set it up with being a little bit, quote, slow in his get-off, waiting for the pick to happen. The way that I see sports is you win games with guys like Patrick Queen doing things like this. Being committed to his job, even though he's not going to get credit for it statistically, is not going to help him make any money in most cases. I firmly believe the Ravens are going to figure out a way to reward the people who do stuff like this consistently. Justin Houston got another sack. I think that Queen actually did this 3 times in 2022 to free up people for sacks. In 2021, there was a play against the Broncos where he got decleated by a lineman. Basically, decleated means he got knocked off his feet because he was trying to execute this technique, and he missed, and someone else decleated him, and people made fun of him for it. And I remember thinking to myself, that's BS. Like, the guy's trying to free up a teammate, trying to play unselfish football, which is how you win games, if you ask me, and people decried him for it. Again, celebrating with Justin Houston, man, he's committed, and it wouldn't surprise me if the Ravens commit to him either. Might sound altruistic or it might sound unrealistic, but when the Ravens coaches see film of stuff like that, if they see it drastically different than I do, then I just don't understand the game the way that I think I do at times. Because I think Patrick Queen turned in a whole lot of tape in 2023, particularly after the first 3, 4, 5 games that look like some of the stuff that I showed you. And I think that's winning football. I think it's going to help the Ravens win more games in 2023 and hopefully beyond. Let me know if you're as impressed with some of the plays that I've shown you for Patrick Queen. If you appreciate the types of plays I showed you, feel free to point some more out to me or ask me to look at another player on the Ravens team or from around the league who maybe does things like this that are unselfish, don't show up in the box score, but help other guys make plays and help the defense get stops. Appreciate you guys' time. If you think other Ravens fans would enjoy the content, enjoy my commentary, and seeing some of the film, please consider sharing the link on social media to help this video get more reach.